Steam is trying to, basically, like, a lot of people need to understand this, is that when Steam has something, when, like, a company does something stupid and it's on Steam, people blame Steam for it. Like, whether they deserve it or not, they're the ones that are getting blamed. Because the person doesn't understand, like, oh, it's the publisher or whatever. They're going to immediately blame Steam because that's the website they're working with. And so Valve is, and Steam is trying to do whatever they can to not be held accountable for these stupid and greedy decisions of certain publishers.
Welcome back, everybody. Today, this is going to be a great video, right? Because publishers sometimes are a little bit naughty. Now, maybe they're naughty because they're kind of bad, or maybe they just make a mistake, and they have a plan where the business bigwigs think, oh, cool, we'll sell this season pass, but the developers are internally screaming, thinking, guys, we can't actually do that. The problem, though, is that means that customers, we get burned. And guess who also gets burned? Big Mr. Gabe. Because if you're running Steam and via incompetence or malice, your devs and publishers are messing on your customers, well, guess what? Now that's your problem. So this is very much a Steam consumer protection story, and it's one that is very Valve, because they've not went and hired a small army, right, of enforcers who are going to be patrolling Steam. No. Valve are a games design company, right? Now, the thing is, Steam, the actual platform, well, it's game designed. They want to incentivize behaviors that are in their best interest. And that means, things that mean that customers feel comfortable purchasing, but it also means developers and publishers acting right. So let's get
that's the thing, is anytime somebody has a bad experience with a game on Steam, they have a bad experience with Steam. So, like, they have to manage their own reputation inside of these publishers doing different things that could be good or bad. That's why they have the refund window. That's why, for example, whenever the day before came out and, like, it didn't go well, Steam gave everybody refunds.
Into this. Today's story is all about selling an idea, selling a promise of future content and how it goes wrong. What's cool though, right, is the last few times we've covered Steam stories, especially policy ones, it's Valve being forced by some sort of outside influence. As an example, there were the terms of service changes, which basically were to try to comply with a Californian law. There was all of the stuff with the big class action lawsuits, and that was all Valve responding to external stuff. But here, this is Valve designing their own game, changing the rules, and it's all about the battle passes. Now, this was first spotted by Paweł Janik, who is the Steam DB guy, who does awesome work over there. So what they've done is they've changed their policies on how season passes work. And for the sake of simplicity, so that we all understand what Valve actually means, here is how Valve defines them. A pack of current and future content, brackets DLC, that customers can buy with a single purchase.
That's really broad. Because what does content even mean? That could mean, like, skins. Yeah, because, I mean, are skins content for a game? I would say they're content. Yeah, for sure they are. That's massive.
So what's of note here is that battle passes, where you've got to unlock rewards through gameplay and, like, individual DLCs, those don't actually count here. What counts is when you buy a season pass, right? A whole package of things that is purchased before all those things release. And what's really cool is that we have got the full policy document, all of Valve's demands and requirements that developers and publishers have got to meet. And on face value, this absolutely looks like a humongous win for consumer rights. But as always, it gets far more interesting when we dive into the details. And that's possible because of today's sponsor, who keep me protected online. So here's the deal. Data brokers exist. They harvest our data any way that they can, and then they sell it. And that means we get robocalls, we get spam, and even worse, security vulnerabilities, especially the likes of social engineering. And when big corporate data leaks happen, as they often do, that data often ends up with the brokers. And that's where Incogni.com/bellytheirnews is a superpower, and it is so simple. We've actually got the legal right to have our data taken down. But that takes hours, and there's nothing stopping that data from being...
It's crazy that, like, you need a service like this. This should just be the law.
Recollected. So what Incogni does is it scans the brokers, it automatically sends takedown requests, it adds you to suppression lists, and best of all, it constantly rescans to keep your data down. So here's my Incogni dashboard. You can see 114 sent, 8 in progress, 106 completed, and I'm on 21 suppression lists. And that means those brokers will not recollect my info. Now you can add up to 3 emails and home addresses as well, and the upshot is simple. Your data not being spread around without your knowledge or your consent. 100%. And I've actually not had a single robocall since I started with them. Incognito means you can actually benefit from the laws that actually exist to protect you, but are normally completely unusable. And you can get 60% off an annual plan at incognito.com/BellularNews. Let's kick things off with a customer perspective here. So Valve have codified how these products should appear on the Steam platform, sort of in the same way as Advanced Access, where Advanced Access was a thing, it was a gray area, and then Valve said, hang on a second, we should actually have a clear label and a clear system so that people know what's going on.
Yeah,
so,
that's why they have the early access indicator on Steam now. And like, that's a really good thing because a lot of people don't really understand what the difference between beta, early access, early release, alpha is. Like, all of these terms are kind of used interchangeably. And it's very hard to know like which one are being used in this circumstance.
From now on, before the purchase of a season pass, products must clearly detail these things. A complete list of all DLC included in the pass, so a listing for each of the 4 DLCs that are included. There must be a basic description of the content included in each pass. Valve says, and by the way, I'm reading their policy document here. For example, the first content release might be the Glitterlands expansion, new area to explore, 2 new weapons, and new enemies. Valve's document goes on to say it's not required for DLC to have a final name at the launch of the season pass. They say that information about the content in the DLC doesn't need to be detailed, so you can just say as a developer, new weapons, or 2 new weapons, or new zone. That is acceptable. You don't have to list the specific, like, itemized things. Now, they also say, and this is where it gets big, expected release date for each DLC. Quarter and year, i.e. January to March 2025, or season/year is acceptable. Of course, a date that's more precise is also fine. As an example, just any specific date in the year. And then there's a bit that I think is huge.
Thank fucking God. That way it's actually explained and people know what's going on. You know, imagine that.
Huge, right? A product must have at least one of its constituent DLCs actually released whenever it is offered. So that means that a season pass cannot be sold in such a way that if you buy the season pass, that's it. Right, there's no content right now. All that you've done is pre-ordered a bunch of future DLCs. That's actually not going to be allowed. Now, that being said, pre-orders of a deluxe edition of a game do get their own specific carving out in the rules. So obviously Valve aren't going to publishers and saying, hey guys, no more deluxe editions, because that would lose all of the money,
yeah,
right?
That would be stupid.
I'll have to treat that as a separate thing, but there's an other rule that is massive for us as gamers, as customers. Steam are codifying that if any listed DLC is cancelled, Valve will mandate refunds for the comparative value of the cancelled DLC to customers. Now,
wow. God damn, that's a lot. Holy shit. It's amazing, yeah. Oh my God.
Now, this is really good because, look, generally there would be some form of refund if a plan changed substantially. But the thing that actually matters is, can you trust that refund? Is it backed up by Valve's own rules? Here, it is going to be backed up by those rules, and that matters. Now what we can do is take a look at some recent video games to see who passes these rules.
Yeah, the day
and
before.
Who fails.
That's the one that
The
happened.
devil is always in the details.
Yeah, exactly.
So, Star Wars Outlaws just came out.
Oh.
And it does actually pass. The reason why is they have clear descriptions of the expected dates, there are clear expectations for the content, and there's a full list of everything that you get. Then we've got Space Marine 2. It also passes the new test. Again, it's got all of the detail, even though they are just describing the cosmetic pack contents in generic terms. But then we've got Tekken 8. It actually fails the test. It violates Valve's rules. Now,
don't Tekken 8 players hate the game now? Like, I've heard that a lot of Tekken 8 players are, like, unhappy with, I guess, like, microtransactions and certain types of additions to the game that they've done. That's what I've heard a lot of, though.
Tekken 8 came under a hell of a lot of criticism from fans because of what is actually in its season pass. Now, actually, that's not why they failed the test here. Obviously, you're allowed to sell a season pass that's shit as long as it complies with the rules, but what they don't comply with is that while there is detail of the content available that fits Valve standards, there's no time frame, right? No time frame for delivery, and Valve are not letting developers sell undated promises in their store anymore.
Wow. So it's not just like something can be in early access purgatory forever. That's kind of a really big deal. Holy shit.
And we've got Stalker 2.
Yeah.
Which sadly fails on all counts here, actually.
Whoa.
The only thing that they describe whenever you purchase the Ultimate Edition is, quote, Season Pass, guaranteeing 2 additional expansions and any future DLC.
Sure.
Now, of course, detail-wise, Steam has left enough slack here so that as long as each DLC is labeled with new weapons, new enemies, new map, that would be acceptable. And that does mean that most developers are likely going to be fine on that front. And for the developers of Stalker 2, well, they basically just need to get their ducks in the row so that they are in compliance with this. Of course,
it's crazy how many abstract promises that developers have made and how long it's taken for this to actually happen. Because, like, this has been a problem for a long time now.
Say, on a personal level, I mean, I know that Stalker 2 has came out, it's had performance issues and all of that, but my god, like, very few games are developed
and also, like, another component for, like, what this is going to do is that if you make a service that is primarily putting customers first, like, so earlier today, some people might not have been watching then, but earlier today, I thought of the idea to try out something like this game, right? So this is a game that people said was, like, not letting people play it because of DLC. Well, I downloaded the entire 90 gig file, and then I find out that in order to play the game, I have to log into a Ubisoft account. I immediately uninstalled it. Like, I wish Steam would make it a rule that if you want your game on Steam, you cannot require a login to a secondary launcher or a login into a secondary account. It can be optional. It can be advised or suggested, but for it to be mandatory, suck my fucking dick. And at the end of the day, it's just annoying because you're buying something and, like, here's the truth. I'm going to refund this game. I'm going to refund the game because I don't want to have to make another account. It's just obnoxious. It's a mandatory skip button, yes. And so, like, and at the end of the day, where did I have a bad experience, guys? I had a bad experience on Steam. I did. Because I bought the game, and now it's annoying. What about account linking? Account linking is totally fine. The problem is when it becomes mandatory. That is the issue. It's not about it being a possibility or a suggestion or even hey, you're going to get a little bit extra stuff if you do this. But if you have to do it, fuck that. That sucks. I hate that.
The, broader environment that Stalker 2 was developed in.
Tired of everything being a service. I am too. I'm so tired of having to make an account for everything. I don't need an account to download my drivers. Like, just let me log in, automatically detect what the drivers are, and just give me the software. Like, why do I need to make an account for a mount? Yeah, I have to have an account for Razer Synapse. Why? Why can't I just have this saved locally onto my PC? Where is the value that I, as a customer, am getting by having a mandatory account? And that's the thing, is I have no problem if they say, hey, you want to save your settings and have them on another computer? Well, we have this account that you can make. I think that's great. But I fucking hate it being forced. It makes me so mad. There is literally no value to me as a customer, and in fact, there is a negative value. Because now I have to keep up with another password, I have to give another person my information, and I have to keep up with another username. Now I have to remember this. It's completely anti-consumer. You are the product? Well, that's the thing, is that the old meme was, if you're not paying for a product, you are the product. Now you pay to be the product. It's like there's a fucking cover charge to get inside the slaughterhouse. That's not how it's supposed to fucking work.
So I'm absolutely going to cut those guys some slack. I mean, I think it's only fair. So obviously in the topic of release dates, there's a reason why most announcements have got the legalese of, quote, dates subject to change, right, in the small print. So Valve are not going to be completely ruthless with developers here. They are giving developers flexibility to allow for delays and development problems because, well, Valve are also game developers. I'm pretty sure they understand that keeping to a development timetable is hard. You know, they run in Valve time, so they take that into account, but they do have rules and punishment. So here it is. If developers cannot make the 3-month window that they set for their DLC, they are allowed to move that DLC to the next 3-month window. But if it's anything more than that, they can't do it in the Steam backend. They can't.
Wow. So if you have to delay more than 3 months, you have to give out refunds. You know what's really funny about this? Is that Valve shouldn't be doing this. Because the government should have already done it. This should already be a consumer protection policy. It's insane that, like, this even pre-orders will be cooked. That would be 6. Am I misunderstanding? You guys said 6. I want to go back and look at this myself again. I might have misread it. You can pick a new date up to 3 months later than you originally suggested. Yeah. One time only during the season pass. 3 and then another 3. Where does the other 3? What?
They are allowed to move that DLC to the next 3-month window. But if it's anything more than that, they can't do it in the Steam backend. They can't click a button.
Basically 6 months max. I'm not understanding. Yeah, either way.
They need to negotiate it with Valve, right? So they basically need to get a meeting with the principal and explain themselves. And if that DLC is delayed past the 3-month point, even if no customer has complained to them, then Valve will actually consider action.
Yeah.
And of course, that is action that, will hurt the developer's bottom line. That means that there are clear consequences. Valve's framing to develop.
I understand what you guys are saying now. You're saying that theoretically inside of a 3-month window, because it's based off of seasons, that you could release at the later half of the season rather than the beginning of the season. So 6 months would be a theoretical outcome, but realistically it would be 3 months. Is that what people are trying to say? Yes? Okay. That's not 6 months. I don't agree with that thinking, but like it could be theoretically, right? So basically it is less than 6 months no matter what, and in some cases only 3 months. Yeah, it's not 6 months. Yeah, it's more like up to 6 months. Yeah. And that's in a best case scenario. So for example, right? Like holiday season ends in December. So if your planning was to release it in December and you said holiday season, you would actually only have 3 months that you could extend it to, because you'd already be in December to begin with. You see what I'm saying? So like I that's just an example, right? Okay, so all right, now we're all on the same page, because I was getting really confused with what people were saying. I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? But okay, yeah, I can see what the very, very stupid nuance, but that's fine. It's okay. The point is, yes, obviously it would be less than 6 months always, but sometimes only 3 months, depending on what the release schedule was. That's right. People like being pedantic in order to argue. It's nothing new. Anyway, yes, this is a good thing. Very good thing.
Hurt the developer's bottom line. That means that there are clear consequences. Valve's framing to developers and publishers is clear.
Well, the reason why there's consequences to the developer is because there's consequences to Steam. When people get refunds on Steam, Steam has to probably pay. Like every refund that Steam does costs them money. There is some form of transaction that it costs Steam in order to give somebody a refund.
Season Pass is a commitment to future releases, and it's one that they want as a contract.
Yeah.
Here's a quote. If you aren't ready to clearly communicate about the content included in each DLC and when each DLC will be ready for launch, you shouldn't offer a season pass on Steam.
Damn. Damn, bro. Don't make promises you can't keep. Or if you do, we're going to refund everybody. Oh my fucking God. That's not too much to ask. It's really not. Basically saying you can't sell vague promises anymore. They're going to make some enemies. Well, here's the thing, is that a platform that puts consumers first will create a pressure on developers to have developers use that platform. A lot of developers probably don't like Steam. They probably don't like how it's designed. They don't like the cut that they take. They don't like a lot of things. But it doesn't matter because that's where the fish are. That's the truth.
So if a 6-month window for release isn't enough, Valve will
gotta
actually
fish where
consider
the
that to
fish
be
are.
a breach of contract between developers, Valve, and customers. And as a punishment, they will actually take action. Here
Damn.
are Valve's punishments. The Season Pass may be removed from sale. They also say all unreleased content may be refunded, or customers may get the option of a refund for the whole pass. And
Oh my God. Bro, they're laying it down. That's insane.
the same will actually apply
Look at
if the
this.
Season Pass hasn't released for 1 year as well. And the ultimate
Holy
point here is
shit.
that customers will not lose.
What's this here? Somebody says, what about small indie developers who struggle more than AAA developers? Why would no? So so let me get this straight. You think that because you ran into a production problem, now the consumer needs to pay for that? That's not how it works. You're selling a product. The only thing that matters is whether your product hits the market or not. You're thinking about empathy, but what about whenever you take somebody's money and you don't give them what you told them that you were going to give them? Where's the empathy there? It's completely one-sided. No, you're not going to trick me with that shit. Yeah, it's not Kickstarter. Exactly, man. Yeah, people don't want to get scammed. Like, if you can't release a game and you don't know when it's going to come out, then maybe don't put it on there. And also, AAA devs fuck up like this all the time. I feel like this is mainly for the AAA devs, not for the indie guys. The indie guys, generally, everything's fine. I mean, yeah, you have like there are bad games, right? We all know like the, very notorious bad indie games, but I feel like they're few and far between.
Out because a developer cannot meet their promises. Of course, promises the developer has sold to a customer. That to a lot of developers will sting.
That is
it
brutal.
will feel harsh, but you know what? This industry has been damaged so much by commitments to players just being fast and loose and not being respected.
Well,
and
at the end of the day, people are spending money on things that they're not getting. Like if you want to break this down on like a super rudimentary contract level, the company said they were going to give you something within a time frame, and it didn't happen. Now, if somebody charges you money for something and then you don't get what you paid for, you should get your money back. It's not complicated. It's not like this is some kind of like, wizard analysis. It's common sense.
Why games discussion and culture is such a flippin' mess these days. So let's talk about games that will fail this criteria. Redfall. Yeah, Redfall, remember that? That's a recent example where because Microsoft shut down the development studio, there was simply no plan to make the Season Pass DLC. Now, obviously, Microsoft did offer refunds there, but it was initially unclear if that would be the case, as Microsoft framed that a make-good offer was being worked on, which, in that case, it's got to be money, or I'm saying no. Now,
well, it's also because they're worried about getting sued. And this is another really big component, is that, do you remember when Steam, this is like kind of like maybe like, I don't know, 3-4 months ago. Do you remember when Steam kind of late at night pushed an update that everybody had to agree to? Do you guys remember that? Like everybody had to agree to some update. It was about like AI or some kind of thing like that. I don't remember exactly. Only USA. It was in the USA. Yeah, that must be it, because I think it was a response to a California law or like a lawsuit that had happened. Yeah, for licenses. And so anyway, arbitration. Steam doesn't want to get roped into a lawsuit when a company puts out a video game and then they don't deliver it. And now Steam gets named in the lawsuit. And now they're involved in a class action lawsuit for fraud. You see what I'm saying? This is how, like, and this has been their perspective on AI as well. Steam does not have a problem with AI, but they do have a problem with saying that you don't have AI. They're always looking at trying to minimize their own risk. And that's what they're doing here. Dude, just stop watching Belluer. His content has fallen off so much that he is now in Ireland. His content is just a commercial. I was a big fan of his, but then he started to be more commercial and his content started to be dumb as fuck. He only cares about farming views. So here's what's really funny about that. So if I look at Belluer's videos, he's actually been getting substantially more successful. Like, if you look at this one, this has like 900,000 views. This is 450,000 views. Like, his approach that he's taking to content now has been incredibly successful, and he's doing an amazing job. This is probably the most successful his news channel has ever been. So I understand that maybe he banned you in the comment section, so you're coming in here and complaining to me. But you're just factually wrong. Yeah, you're just wrong. There's probably a WoW player that's mad that he's not playing WoW. That's probably what's going on here. Yep. Complaining, Andy. Yeah, as I told you, bro, like, WoW players are something else.
Years ago, Assassin's Creed Unity, that saw Ubisoft have their release pass removed, right? Removed from sale because of the game's launch issues, which at the very least were pretty damn funny to watch. Now, in that case, Ubisoft still did commit to releasing their DLC regardless, with all of the Season Pass owners getting that as a part of their purchase. Plus, everybody in the community actually got the first DLC, and then Season Pass holders got a free Ubisoft game to make up the cost. So that was them trying to navigate the situation. But obviously here, with Valve, well, a developer doesn't just get to say, oh, yeah.
Well, that's a bad solution, because, like, if they say, like, let's say you go to Taco Bell and you want to buy something, and then they take your money, and then they tell you, oh, okay, well, you can have something else on the menu. Well, I don't want something else on the menu. I wanted that thing. Give me my money back. Like, it's just like, some people, like, I don't know why like this has happened, is that so many people and like just random internet users have turned into professional dick eaters for companies. Have you guys noticed this? Where they're constantly trying to defend bad business practices. I don't know why they do this. Why have people turned into dick eaters? Why is this happening? You received a refund if you don't want the game? Yes. I don't get why. It's so annoying to me.
Instead, no. It's got to be what you promised. Or else Gabe's giving people their money back. And speaking of development...
and also, if this goes to court, they're going to lose. Like... That's not how it works. Oh, well, you were going to buy something. Oh, okay, well, we're not going to give you that. We're going to give you something else. No, they have to give you your money back. That's fraud.
shows we gotta talk about City Skylines 2. City Skylines 2's expansion pass, Waterfronts, completely meets all the criteria for listing a season pass product on Steam, right? They've got clear descriptions of what the content is, actually far more detail than is even required, and they do have clearly marked dates for, the initial sale of it. As an example, right, the Bridges and Ports DLC was marked as releasing in Q2 of 2024. However, the astute among you may notice that it's actually Q4 of 2024 right now, and that expansion has not released. In fact, in February, to ensure wider game stability, it was updated to have a release window of Q2 2025, which I will say is what that developer should have done. Because look, if your foundations are absolutely shot through, destroyed, what business have
another
you got
example of this happening?
No,
another example of this happening was Warcraft 3 Reforged. Is they said it was going to be ready at the end of the year, and it wasn't. And like a lot of people are bringing that up. They said, well, we pre-ordered and you said it would be ready by then, and now it's not. Like, what the fuck? What about Wayfinder? I don't know what happened exactly with Wayfinder. I can't comment on that. You think they give you a brand new game of their choice? They probably gave you a shitty one, right? That nobody's playing anyway. I don't know. But never be precise unless you've already finished all the work or you're experienced in what you're doing and you know how long the work is going to take. I mean, that's fine because you have to you have to make projections. Everybody makes projections. But I see this being just a massive W for like an average gamer. Just as an average, and this is one thing I wish more people realized, is that people need to stop being simps for these companies and, oh, well, they couldn't get it right the first time. Well, then too bad. Too fucking bad. What about games with paid content retroactively redacted? I don't know. Like, I mean, I think that I feel like that's bad, but I don't know. It probably depends on the situation specifically. I'll forever be a simp to Steam. See, like, I think it's important to just like to focus on actions rather than individuals, because like this action that Steam is doing is really good. Now, Steam could make a mistake or do something in the future, and then I'd be like, this is bad. They shouldn't do this. But Steam does usually make good decisions. Money has a time value too. These companies are holding large sums of money for an indefinite amount of time. Exactly. Yeah, it's like inflation, etc. Yeah, of course, that's true.
Fix the real problem first. But you can't have it both ways. And so in doing that, you should hand people their money back with a plan to earn it back later. And this actually means that what they've done in City Skylines 2 would land squarely within Steam's policy of being more than 12 months since the intended release date if it doesn't hit by then. Now, the reasons why the DLC is delayed is obviously that stuff that we've covered in a lot of detail here. And I think broadly everyone watching this video understands they've got to fix the real problem first. I mean, don't sell people stuff when the thing they've already got is shit. But the
none of that is the problem of the consumer. And I've been seeing this a lot recently, where you have companies and individuals, like this is especially true with streamers, is that streamers like to explain to their viewers why certain types of content are going to be bad. And they're like kind of expecting some sort of like parasocial level of accommodation for that. I find it to be so fucking cringe, where people are constantly like, oh yeah, no, this is just the way it has to be or whatever. No, like a user, a consumer, a buyer, only the relationship is about what they're buying. And I think that people let themselves be taken advantage of way too much with this kind of stuff. Validation? Yeah, unconditional trust. Exactly. It's insane. Like, the relationship that you have with a content creator or with a company that makes video games is that they put out a product that you like, and then you consume the product. If you don't like it, then you stop consuming the product. The amount of, like, emotional, like, kind of implications that people try to put on that are done purely in order to make more money. They don't really give a shit about you. They just want you to feel like they do, so you'll give them more money.
The problem with a season pass is that many people have already paid for that DLC. And so if we take a look at Valve's rules, guess what? you gotta give some of that money back. That's going to sting, but guess what? It is goddamn right.
Yeah.
And because Valve are the biggest marketplace in PC gaming, well, they are setting the terms of the market. They are drawing a red line about what is acceptable. A lot of developers.
And this should be very concerning, by the way. Bellier is looking at this from a positive perspective, and I think that it is positive. But at the end of the day, when Steam can make unilateral decisions about how an entire market behaves, that is a level of control that one company should never have. If you just take a step back and you think about this objectively, you would see how this is a very dangerous precedent to exist in. These should be policies that are like laws. It shouldn't be Steam making these decisions. Do you think it's because Sony has a practical monopoly on consoles and Steam on PC games? I don't think so, no.
Are going to, I think, look at this and say, right, in spirit, as a developer of games, a player of games, this is really good. But they will then think about the currently broken funding model of video games, which is completely biased towards publishers, is completely biased against developers, and they will be fearful. And in their fear, they may lash out.
Publishers have a lot of publishers have a lot of control, and the reason why publishers are still so powerful, because like you would assume that publishers aren't as powerful now because of like how easy it is to get a game out to market. But the problem now is that you have so many games going out to market that you can make an insane game. Like Among Us is a great example of this. Among Us was released for over a year before it got really popular when Soda played it. But before that, nobody was talking about this game. Nobody was thinking about it. It was basically dead in the water. And so there have been a lot of examples of that too. Like Fortnite is another example. Whenever they came out with the BR mode, the BR mode wasn't Fortnite. Fortnite was like a survival game, and then they added the BR mode later on. So what ends up happening is that I just as good COVID-19 game. Yeah, sure. But like publishers now can like provide a platform for marketing for a game. And that's why, for example, I like doing the show that I did, Pixel Pitch. And I also like, you know, like on my Reddit, if there's a game that comes out that's good that people want to see, I'll just play the game. That's it. I'll just play the game and try it out. And I think that's really what I wish more platforms would do, because basically right now we have a... So let me see if I can describe this or explain it in a way that makes sense visually. So right now we have so many of these games. These are just games, right? MEES games. I'm not very good at spelling. And so all of these games need to go into like a filter, which is marketing. Right? This is marketing. And this includes ads, it includes streamers, it includes everything else. And then the actual things that the public sees and the public awareness. I can't. Anyway, so I cannot fucking write. Anyway, basically what happens is that there are so few marketing channels that are fair and that are not overpriced or massively beneficial for existing companies. Like, for example, like television ads and stuff like that, or like existing, relationships with like different brands. All of these things happen. And the marketing here, this is really where the publishers come in. And that's where they create the value for these games. So it would be really good if more people tried to promote smaller games. That way you didn't have publishers that were exercising so much control and actual players had more power over what they were playing.
Right? They may be worried because it's their livelihood, but bad things have to stop. And a company that cannot keep to its promises should go under. At the top of this video, I highlighted
he's so fucking right about this. I hate this idea that because things are expensive, a company has to do things that are bad for a consumer. It's like, oh, well, we need to make money. Yeah, that's right. If you need to make money in a way that's damaging or detrimental to other people, then maybe you don't deserve to make money. Maybe your business isn't viable if you have to do stuff like that. That's just me.
Other changes Valve made have very much been responding to things. I mean, hell, even take a look at Steam's industry-leading refund policy.
Meritocracy
that happened
again.
because
Exactly.
of Australia. So I suppose for once in video games, thanks Australia. Because if you're an Australian gamer, there was a long time where if you wanted an 18-rated game, the government weren't going to let you have it. But on reflection, what I said at the start of this video
some weird
isn't
stuff
actually
over there.
right.
I don't know what the details are.
There is no outside force from a big authority. No government saying, no senator getting up in, I don't know, the Senate and saying, season passes are messing up gamers. That's not happening. While it's not coming...
It's because people don't understand it. Gaming still, like, the problem is that, like, the voting base is primarily so old that they don't understand these problems at all. I think that in 20 years, this is going to be completely defined. It'll be no problem. But right now, because like the people that are making decisions in government are so disconnected, and also in 20 years, it's just going to be a new group of people. This is going to be solved, but the new issue of the time in 20 years will not be solved. This issue will just repeat itself again.
From an authority, Valve absolutely are motivated by an external force. And that external force is bad behavior. And do you know what matters here? It's not a slap in the wrist. It's a clear financial punishment. I don't know if this turn of phrase
exists. That's the thing too, is because if the company can stand to lose money, that is fucking insane. Because that's why they're doing it in the first place. Is if you want people to change their behavior, pay them a different amount of money.
In your country, but you know, we would over here in Northern Ireland call someone a bit of a chancer, you know, if they were sort of wheeling and dealing, you know, being a wee bit cheeky. Publishers have often been like that. They've been planning to sell you something and taking the money early.
Yeah,
they don't always deliver, or it's not always the spec. That's damaged the hobby that we love, and it has normalized bad behavior such that
and what I find to be especially frustrating to me is not the fact that the publishers do it. It's the fact that gamers allow it to happen and they don't hold the companies accountable. That's what's so annoying to me, because like I can easily see, oh yeah, you're a publisher, you're doing things that are bad because you just want to take advantage of people. Yeah, sure. Of course you're doing that. But why the fuck are players going along with this? Why are they defending it? How do we attack back? Stop supporting companies that do things that are consumer unfriendly. If you buy a game and the game is doing something that you think is consumer unfriendly, stop playing that game, leave a negative review, and refund it. Stop supporting garbage. It's that simple. But your viewers are like 1% of the entire player base worldwide? No, we're not. We're like 0.001%. We're nothing. But what I'm saying is that I think that a more of a focus on customers and consumers understanding that they have power. I feel like we've had a lot of instances of this happen, like with Throne and Liberty, for example, right? They totally redid the game because of how badly it was received. I think gamers need to have higher standards. And if something is existing in a way that they think is unfair or predatory, then the main problem is that video gaming is primarily, for a lot of people, a indulgence. And whenever you're dealing in the economy of indulgences, it's very hard to get people to control themselves. So what happens is that a company will do something that's awful, and then they'll release a game, or that, you know, I've said every gamer boycott is 1 3-minute cinematic away from being over. It happens every single time. It's exhausting.
Soon, people will just expect shit. They will expect to be treated badly. That has got to end. Yeah. And the only way to make it end is clear financial punishment.
Exactly.
This will lose devs money, it will lose publishers money, and I am happy about that, actually.
I am too. I'm very happy. If you have to shut down your studio and put everybody out of a job because you couldn't deliver a product that could come to market and deliver in a way that consumers wanted, then you don't deserve to have a job. If you can't exist in the free market, then you don't deserve to exist in the free market. It's that simple. Winners win and losers lose. That simple.
I think it is good. And that's going to piss people off. But the point is pretty damn clear. Incentives matter, delivery matters, execution matters. At the end of the day, if you plan to sell a video game with a season pass, and then you cock up the video game and you cock up the season pass, you know what? The market should punish you such that you may actually go under, because that's the entire goddamn point. Bad companies should die because all they are doing is trading, surviving off bad behavior, what I suppose economists might call like rent-seeking behavior, or the sort of thing where, if you've ever heard of the concept of an unpriced negative externality, that is the shit that they thrive on. That's what my spirit, my soul says. But I'm also a pragmatist, right? There is another incentive here. You know the way sometimes you design a system to incentivize a certain behavior, but you can accidentally have the opposite effect? Well, publishers may end up having a choice here. Do they release a broken DLC for money? Money, of course, that they've, well, probably already taken because it's a season pass. Will they just put that out to hit Valve's deadline, to dodge Valve's, refunds and stuff, saying, okay, if we don't release this DLC, a massive amount of refunds will happen and we'll be in a lot of trouble? Or do we just shoot it out right now, accept that we're going to get shit reviews, but you know what? That's fine. Because they already bought the season pass, and if we put out some slop, it'll be slop, but at least it will comply with...
I think that if a company does that, they won't be a company for very long. Bellior brings up a really good point here in malicious compliance, and I think that this definitely could happen, but I don't think it's probably as common as you might imagine. Because if a company does that, a lot of people are going to refund it anyway because they're going to play it and see that it's bad. So if you're worried, and here's the logic, right? Is that, yeah, you won't get as many refunds, but you will get a lot of refunds if you're releasing something that's problematic. And at the same time, you're also going to damage your reputation a lot. And so if a company wants to tank their reputation to release a bad, unfinished product that people can refund anyway, then I say let them do it. That's fine, because there's no way that you can stop anybody from releasing a bad, like sometimes people just release bad games, right? But the best thing that you can do is to make sure that the people that are buying those bad games have a recourse to get a refund if they think that if it's that bad. I don't think you can refund DLCs, can you? I'm not sure.
The letter of the law, if not the spirit of the law. I absolutely can't wait to see the ramifications of this. And next, I have another video for you, right? FromSoft. Sony want to purchase the company that owns 70% of FromSoft shares. It is a gargantuan story. It's actually one where the leaks have been confirmed, and I think it matters to all of us because this is the Elden Ring developer, the Armored Core developer. If something bad happens to them, it would truly be a loss. So check it out next. Thanks to today's sponsor, and I'll see you over there.
I think this is a really, really good video. Bellior's really been cooking with these videos recently. He's been popping the fuck off. It's been awesome to see. I'll link you guys the video. Make sure to give it a like. And Valve, this has been long, long, long overdue from Valve. And I think that, honestly, I find it to be... A lot of people celebrate this because they're like, oh, this is good because now, these companies are getting held accountable, etc. However, here's what the problem is. When a company like this gets held accountable, when a company like Valve has effectively regulatory control, this is a very scary reality on a principled level. No company should have regulatory control on an industry. I'll give you some examples. So the way that Apple and Google basically have a duopoly on all smartphone applications, this is bad for consumers. Now, there can be positives with duopolies or with monopolies. There absolutely can be. But eventually those positives turn into negatives. And the problem is that when these people control a free market, you can't expect other people to come in and compete with them. Expect essentially a corporate government. Yes, exactly. Like I had a lot of people push back on me. People were unhappy at me for saying that I supported Elon Musk and filing a lawsuit against this because companies operating as a quasi-government in order to compel behavior should concern everyone. So a lot of companies now, and this has been a problem with social media companies for a while. I'll link the video again. It's been a huge problem with social media companies, but it's also a problem with credit processing companies. It's a problem with Steam. The only reason why people don't care about Steam is because Steam is doing the right things. Basically, Steam is doing something that they shouldn't be able to do, but because they're doing it for the right reasons, people are okay with it. It's like Batman or something, right? And so that's the reason why. Like I would say, like these smartphone apps that I gave an example for earlier. I feel like those are the ones that immediately come to mind. Yeah, a benevolent dictator. Yeah, right, exactly. Because I've talked to guys. Here's the truth. I've talked to guys in Saudi Arabia, and I've been like, bro, you guys can't even elect anybody. Like, what the fuck? And you know what they said to me? They said, you know what? You're right. And because we can't elect somebody, it means that the person that's up there doesn't have to worry about doing what's good at the right time. They can think about the long-term perspective, and they can't be bought out because they already have all the money in the world, and they don't have to worry about ever losing their position. So they legitimately, like a lot of the guys over there, are totally in support of the Saudi royal family. Because they see what we do, they see what we have, and you know, like in my opinion, I think we should still have elections. Okay, I'm not advocating for this, but it's interesting to see the other perspective. And what I'm saying is that people can thrive. Like good things can happen in bad systems, but bad things will always eventually happen in bad systems. And I think bad things will always eventually happen in good systems. But it's how easily it is to solve that problem. So yeah, ask the slave workers over there. Well, they probably, they don't have internet, so we don't know what they're. You know, who cares? Who cares about them? We're not talking about them, right? That's it. That's cope. Well, here's what I'm saying, right? Is that a lot of people are going to be happy. People are going to get upset. You're trying to expand a worldview and not be blissfully ignorant of the other side. The point is that I don't think that we should have a royal family here either. But what I'm saying is that when people live in a situation that's beneficial to them, they will think that the situation is good, even if the situation is fundamentally flawed, because of the current situation that they're in. You see what I'm saying? It makes sense, what you could have said. Yeah, exactly. And chat clip whatever you want. Won't get banned for his basic takes. No, this is true. These are what guys in Saudi Arabia told me. Yeah, straight up. So, like, they like it better. I don't like it better. I think that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. But it doesn't fucking matter. And it doesn't matter what they think either. Because it's still going to keep happening. A little heated up. Saudi is a slave nation. Yeah, but they don't give a fuck about that. The people voting, that's not what we're talking about. We're going to say Saudi Arabia never did anything bad? Of course it's done bad things. It's not the conversation. You're thinking about something different. Anyway, I do hope that we have actual regulation for this stuff and we stop relying on companies that have a good compass on consumer values and consumer rights in order to advocate for us. I think this is definitely like Batman. Batman is great, but you know what would be better? Is a non-corrupt Gotham police, which will never happen. But, you know, one day, maybe it will. So that's the way I see it. And make it a law. Yeah, it should be a fucking law. Gavin can't be Batman forever. Exactly, man. Too many idiots getting caught up into morality and emotions instead of the reality. Yeah, there's always people that are like that. It's okay. It's not a big deal to worry about it. But it's still funny for me to see it. Let me see what, where the fuck was it? I missed something here. And yeah, here we go. In an imperfect world, I get what you're saying. Presidents only working for 4 years can cause problems. Every system has problems. And really, you should expect every system to have problems. But the difference is that you need to make sure that the systems that have the problems, you have a way to accommodate for that. Most people in the West still watch the soccer cup in Saudi. We don't care either. It was in Qatar, right? Or are you talking about the Saudi League? Yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm going to be real, okay? I would love to go over there. Like Dubai and Saudi Arabia now, they're like private servers in real life. Like people have like flying vehicles over there. There's tigers walking around. Like everybody has a Lamborghini. No, it's straight up like joining like a WoW private server where everybody's a Scarab Lord. Yeah, I'd fucking want to go over there. Absolutely. Yeah, it's nice if you're rich. Well, I'd just be visiting, right? I don't plan on living there, but I'm just saying. And appearance is everything over there, however. You need a new fit? I wouldn't mind that. That'd be fine with me. Yeah, that's okay. Slave nations, man, don't go there. I don't give a fuck about that. I'm sorry. I know. This is not like, I'm not the world police, okay? Yeah, I'm not the world fucking police. I can't stop. You should, though? Okay, well, listen. The next time slavery is on the ballot, I promise you... Oh, would I vote against it? Oh, I don't... man, guys, come on. We're really gonna say it's always bad? I guess usually, right? Let's say usually it's bad. It's free labor. Yeah, it's very convenient, though. Most slaves feel safe while controlled. We got ourselves a slave owner in chat. Oh, yeah. They're so happy. You know what that reminds me of? It reminds me of the little owls in WoW Shadowlands. And, like, so why did all the owls serve you? Well, they like serving. They exist to serve us. Do they get paid? No. They just like being able to help people out. Oh, okay. So there's, like Palicos, yeah. Wow, the Palicos always love doing things for people. Oh, how nice. They live to serve. You know what that sounds a lot like to me? Sounds like just a little, Anyway,